Good evening, good people. Thank you for joining me, which I'm sure you will do in a second. And I'll take advantage of this time and have something to drink. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you all doing? Welcome to the 4th episode of Speak with Dilys. Lovely to have you on here. Hi, Kelly Harris. How are you doing? Guys, when you join, because a lot of you join all at once, just put something in the comment box so that I can at least acknowledge you and give you a bit of a wave. Hello, Marlene. Thank you for jumping on here. Guys, as you join, do share so that we can speak about this wonderful, well, is it a wonderful conversation? Well, it will be with you guys on here. Christabel, thank you for being on here. Hello, Amadorine. Shirley Ann, thank you for being on here. Who else has joined? Vicky Addo, thank you for being on here as well. Guys, if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be great. Hi, Selma, how are you doing? And actually, guys, it would be really nice if you could comment where you're watching from. Because I get, viewers, when I go to my thingamajig, my insights, I have viewers from places that I don't even know nobody. So it would be nice if you could put in the comment box where you're actually watching from. That would be great. Julie Roberts, where have you been? It's been a long time. Hi, Christabel. Anita Agri, how are you? Tasha, sweetheart, lovely to have you on here. Hi, Emissy Parker. I say, you're my sister. Of course, I know you're going to share. You share these videos every single week, even when you don't catch the live and you're on the replay. So much appreciated. Vicky Addo, once again, hello. Shirley says she's calling. Well, very soon you might be calling in. From Monroe, Georgia. Rosemary's watching from West Croydon. William, I know, is watching from Spain. Christabel's watching from London. Merlin is watching from Litchfield. Ronald Rice is watching from Virginia, USA. Thank you for jumping back on here. Karen McKenzie is watching from down the road, because that's my daughter's godmother and we live like 4 doors away. So I won't tell you where she's watching from. Vicky's watching from London as well. Kelly from Hampstead. Thank you for sharing, Shirley Ann. Amma says she's watching from London. Czech Republic. Oh, that's nice, Gloria. Wow. Dee is watching from Nigeria, from Lagos. Of course, my girl. She's in Niger. We don't call it Nigeria, we call it Niger. So lovely to have you on here, Dee. Gracious Bonita, how are you doing? Julie, you're watching from London. Why did I think you were in Ghana? Erica says, hi, Dilys and everyone from Cheshire. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Hello, Shell Robbins, how are you doing? And Okia Sakuri, I know, is watching from America. Chanel's watching from Cardiff. I didn't know that's where you were. Wow. And Ely's watching from Ealing. Oh, that's really lovely. Do you know, I don't know why I've never done this before. It's really nice to see where you guys are all watching from. Ashanti Ams, thank you for being on here. Edward Benson says, hello, Dilys, blessings. Hello, how are you doing? Long time no speak. Lovely to have you on here. So guys, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Speak with Dilys. It's episode 4. Hi Deanna, how you doing, sweetheart? And Omari Carr, always a blessing to have you on here, guys. And June Gilbert. Guys, so let's get cracking. So my name is Dilys Silla, because some of your names I don't recognize, so you may be watching, for the first time. I am the best-selling author of the book, Not This Widow. My first book was called Predator Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. You can find both books on Amazon. I am also a qualified and accredited life coach in the areas that I speak about. So relationships, grief, trauma, it's all there. So if you watch my programs, you'll know that, this is a theme of some of the topics that I, talk about, as well as, current affairs and all sorts. Guys, if you've joined, please do share this broadcast. I would very much appreciate it. What else do I do? I'm an event host as well. And I'm also a public speaker. So if you have any events that you would like me to speak at, do let me know. I was available to speak for International Women's Day event. I have now been booked by the Rotary Club and I am one of their speakers on the 10th of March. So I will also be giving you details of that as well. So, Speak with Dilys. I put this together because I felt that there were conversations that needed to be had that we don't have the right atmosphere and space to speak about. There's a lot of political correctness. There are a lot of people that feel that they can't be honest about topics. Now, one thing I always say is if you are looking for political correctness, you will not find it here. For me, I will bring you the truth. I will bring you real conversation. What makes my show amazing is you, because it's your show. And for those of you that have been on here, that are on here for the first time, you will see the interaction of people on this platform, the respect, the love, the support that everyone gives each other. So that's what Speak with Dilys is about. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about people who are living together, in loveless marriages. And there are a lot of them. So before I say hi to anyone else, but welcome everyone that's joining, please do share the broadcast. This is what we're going to be speaking about. Now, the general idea of marriage is that you become one with your spouse, love and live together in harmony until death us do part. But increasingly, there are many couples committed to the last part only. Husbands and wives are living under the same roof for years on end, long after the marriage has ended, remaining married only on paper for the sake of appearances, finances, or children. There are other reasons, and we'll get into that. The relationship is usually toxic or cold, but neither party chooses to budge. What damage does this do to us by remaining in loveless and hostile marriages? Is this option ever a solution that leaves us unscathed? If we're staying for the children, does it really help them, or would we be better off co-parenting, separated, or divorced? If this setup makes both parties miserable, why are so many couples choosing misery over mirth? Mr. and Mrs. Smith is the 4th episode of Speak with Dilys this Sunday. Now, so guys, let me quickly say hello to you before I ask how you're doing. So Nana, Friye, hello, thanks for joining. Louisa, thank you for being on here. Hi, Hetty. Hello, Adele. Lovely to have you on here. Susanna, thank you for being on here. And I have said hi to Amari. I was saying, when you join, do let me know where you're watching from. So that's what we're doing tonight. We want to see where you're watching from. Hi, Brenda Sherlock. I haven't seen that name before, so welcome. If you're here for the first time, my name is Dilys. This is the show I do every Sunday at 8 o'clock, and we have conversations about life, but we have real conversations. Here we don't do political correctness. We just do the truth. I will say what people are thinking but don't want to say because they're afraid that it's not going to be popular. I don't do popularity. I do the truth. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Cheryl says she's watching from Devon, and Nanefri is watching from Birmingham. You from Birmingham? That's great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okie dokie. So, how are you guys feeling this evening? If you're feeling great, give me some hearts. If you're feeling a bit tired, give me like the care emoji, because I always like to gauge where you guys are before I just go into it. Because if there's anybody, and for those of you that are used to being here, if there's anybody that's feeling a little bit, we show that person some love and we do what we gotta do. Hi Lynette, thank you for being on here. And Gracious Bonita, lovely to have you on here. Lynette and Gracious, where are you watching from? Guys, tag somebody, put somebody's name in the comment box and invite them over. Say, look, we're talking about da-da-da-da-da, and have them come over. If you don't want it, on your page, no problem, but just let's have more people, because I'm telling you, when it comes to relationships, there are many of us that are going through absolute hell. And sometimes it's difficult for people to be honest and say, this is what I'm going through, because they don't want to be judged. They don't want their business out there. So conversations like this is what really helps people to get some help. Because for whatever reason, the way we're wired, I don't know what it is. Thank you, Julia, for sharing. I don't know what it is, but we don't like asking for help. Especially people from certain ethnic backgrounds. They don't like asking people for help, don't want anyone to know their business. So you stay in that situation with no help, no knowledge, no support, no wisdom, on how to deal with it. Why? When the whole world is a wealth of information, it just depends on where you go, look for it, or where, you can find it. So that is why I do what I do. Trust me, I could have a show where we talk about absolute nonsense, or a show where I'm male bashing. Trust me, I would be very, very popular. I would be trending right now. But I'm not about that. I'm about conversations that when you log off, you can go away and think and say to yourself, actually, that applies to me, or my sister, or my brother, or my friend is going through this, and I now have some information that I can share with them, or just say, hey, you know what? Let me just share this video and tell me, what you think. Yeah, so guys, that's why we have Speak with Dilys. Faye, thank you for watching. Faye, where are you watching from? Remy, thank you for watching as well. Lynette's watching from Birmingham. Thank you for sharing. Julia, thank you, June, for sharing. Erica says, I love my hubby, but we live apart. It works for me. Great for you. So, but it's good if, that's slightly different. There are some people that, for whatever reason, they're living apart, but I'm talking about people who are living under the same roof that don't want to be married, but they are living under the same roof and they are dying. Thank you, Evelyn, for sharing. Nana Freya says, ha ha ha, you got the Birmingham accent. Yes, I know, from Birmingham. I like the Brummie accent, you know. So yes, you know me and my accent. Merlene, lovely to have you on here as well. Angelina, lovely to have you on here. Thank you. Shell, you are posting relationship counselling when I'm a relationship coach. You know, you're kind of taking the business from me. Do you know what I mean? I am a relationship coach. So if you're watching this and you do have any assistance that you require, please come and speak to me first before you go anywhere else. Thank you very much. Beatrice, thank you for joining. Beatrice also runs a charity for widows in Nigeria. She does amazing work. You need to go check her out and like her page as well. Faye's watching from South Coast. Wow. Kwesi Karam, thank you for joining. Right, let me have a swig of water and then we're going to get into this. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to talk about this, thank you, Gracious. Well, I'm so happy to have you guys, you know, watching me. I do appreciate it very, very much. So the background of this, why I decided to do this, relationship will always be an area that we keep coming back to because our very existence is steeped in some form of relationship. The problem is with marriage, it's an area that, you know, it has the whole happy ever after connotation attached to it, but that doesn't happen all the time. And I think many of us go into marriage without defining our reasons for it. A lot of us go into it because we think we can address the issues after we've gone into it, even though we're aware that there are issues, or we are not being honest to the person that we are marrying as to why we are going to be in a marriage with them. So for some women, it may be just the fact that they don't want to have their kids out of wedlock, especially if it comes to certain, you know, women from certain ethnic backgrounds where that is a big thing, or from a religious background. So you're not telling them, listen, mate, I don't really love you, but honestly, my clock is going tick, 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 and it's about to go boom. And you're just the man that's there and is available. Instead of saying that, look, I want a kid, you want a kid, let's just do this. And we understand what the dynamics of our relationship is. Very few people are able to be that honest because, again, it's not the done thing. Margarita, I love that name. Welcome for joining. Margarita, where are you watching from? So this week I'm asking where people are watching from. It's just nice to see, you know, the demographics. Hi, Kira Abdu, how you doing? My sister, Marjorie Campbell, lovely to have you on here. And I think I said hello to Helen Opoku. If I haven't, well, hiya. So I think we have to ask ourselves why we are entering into a marriage in the first place. And what are our true reasons for doing it? Because as I said before, depending on where you come from, sometimes there is pressure on us to enter into these marriages. And one thing that I've seen is quite common, are people who find themselves in a marriage that they didn't want to be in, but they succumb to family pressure because the one that they wanted to be with, the family didn't approve. So they end up marrying all right, but not the person that they wanted to marry. And I find that those marriages are particularly a struggle because more often than not, the person that wasn't able to marry the love of their life doesn't tell their new spouse that was the situation, which, you know, is understandable, but it doesn't, you see, these are some of the contributory factors as to how some of these marriages come about. The foundation is not right. The foundation is not right. And I'm not saying that people that fall into this category never loved each other or never had high hopes or aspirations for their marriage. I'm just saying that these are some of the reasons why people end up here. And sometimes it's comfortable for them to end up in a loveless marriage because there wasn't much love there anyway, or to begin with. So after you've gotten what you both desired out of the marriage, i.e. the status, the children, the finances, you then decide that, well, let everybody just live their life. But because of the outside pressure, be it the religion, be it the culture, be it the status, you remain in that living hell, telling yourself that you can manage. But we're going to talk about the effects of, remaining in these marriages to see whether it's just, I'm fine, I can cope with it, this is it. So Anita says, and I'm going to start reading a couple of comments before we go into some of the points I've got. He says, an Asian colleague that I worked with briefly confided that though divorced, she and her husband still lived under the same roof because of their financial ties over their property. She was living in abject misery and couldn't seem to see a way out. Such situations are real, lived under toxic, unhealthy conditions with regard to mental health. Spot on. That's one of the things that we're going to be speaking about later on. Katie, thank you for joining. I hope you're enjoying this broadcast. If you are, tag somebody in the comments box and let's have this conversation. So the first thing I put down here was, what was the real reason why you got married in the first place? Because if you can be honest with yourself and accept the real reason why you got married in the first place, it will at least give you some direction in how you are going to be able to help resolve that situation. So for example, if you see, it's two things. You've got to ask yourself why you got married in the first place and the reason why you want to remain. Because until you can establish these two things, being able to find a resolution for the problem will be virtually impossible. One of the reasons being where you should take some responsibility for that marriage breaking up, you will not be able to take that responsibility. So for example, if your reason for getting into the marriage, let's say from a woman's perspective, you just wanted children and you've got your children, and your whole concentration is on your children, then you have contributed to neglecting that marriage. So as the marriage has broken down, you've got to take that element of it. You've got to look at the role that you played and the effect it had on your husband and your marriage. But if you're not honest in saying that, look, quite frankly, you didn't really care for marriage or you didn't really care for this man, but what you wanted was your children, then now that you've got your children, be grateful that you got that. At least the man gave you that which you wanted. Now that the children maybe are grown or you just physically have them, what next? And this is whereby you take some responsibility and have to then say, right, moving forward, I'm really sorry. Isabel, please can you move? Because I can hear that scratching and it's really throwing me off. Sorry, guys. I just couldn't concentrate. Sorry. It made me think of that movie called Rats, where they were all just running and scurrying around and it was just giving me the EBGBs. I'm so sorry. So yes, so you've got to look at the part that you played so that you can take responsibility, such that when the two of you hopefully can come to a place where you come to the table, that you can say, right, I take this part and I can acknowledge where you're coming from, because then I can recognize that the part that I played had this effect on you, as opposed to, I don't know why my marriage broke down. We're just having, after we had the kids, everything failed. You're not being honest. And if you're not being honest, there is no way that there can be any form of resolution. Right, I can see some people laughing. Morris says, leave Isabel alone. Barbara's laughing. No, seriously, all I could hear was, hold on, like some funky sound, like rustling, I was trying to concentrate, but it was just throwing me. I was just thought, she'll be mortified, by the way. She'll complain later. Hi, Anna. Thank you for watching. Where are you watching from? Anna says, out at the moment, but we'll listen later. No problem, my darling. You do that. Just hit replay. So it's always good to see who's watching on the replay. Gloria says, my parents always fought. So growing up, I assumed a woman becomes a nuisance to the partner when they marry. It appeared my dad was always pissed at my mum. That's really interesting. Marlene says, what you tolerate dominates. Absolutely. And you see, I'm going to get on to the effects these marriages have on our children as well. Yeah, Adai, thank you for being on here. So yes, I'm glad you made that comment, and we're going to come back to that. So the next part I was going to say is, what have you done to try and resolve the issues in the marriage? Now, you see, this is a thing, and this is why it's so important to be clear why you're getting married in the first place. Thank you very much, Monica, for sharing, and welcome. And do let me know, those of you that have joined, where you're watching from, what country or area you're watching from. It would be great to know. You see, it's important that you are honest on why you got married in the first place, your motive for getting married. Because like I said before, if you're not able to establish that, moving forward in how you're going to resolve that issue of marriage is difficult. Because look, one person cannot resolve a marriage or a relationship. It is not possible. In any situation where there is conflict, it requires two people to buy into the idea of resolving that conflict. You've got to ask yourself the reason for the other, finding out the reason why the other person may not be willing and where that leaves you. Because, it sounds harsh, but in this life, everything we do comes down to a choice, as difficult as that choice may be. As Anita put on there, she said, look, she had an Asian colleague who, though they were divorced because of financial reasons, they couldn't move out. Do you know how many people I know in that situation? They absolutely hate their spouse. It's gotten to a point where they hate the husband hates the wife. Let's not even be diplomatic about it. They hate each other. But why do I say choice? Because some people value peace of mind over everything and anything. They would rather go and rent one room than stay under one roof with that person. That is a choice. Maybe for you, staying in one bedroom is not a choice, but it is a choice. Whether you want to take that choice is up to you. And I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying that there is a choice. You know why? Because other people have done it. So it means it's possible. Whether it's possible for you is the issue. Because many people, as I said, remain in these relationships also because of finances. Not just finances because one person can't afford to move, because you can sell the house, split the proceeds, and live maybe in an area that you may not have intended on living in, but because of what your pocket is dictating, you're having to live outside London as opposed to in London. As for choices, there's always choices. But you tell yourself what choice you can live with. You understand? So in situations like that, there are other reasons why sometimes people remain in that marriage, because of the sentimental value of the house. Because the house holds a lot of memories that neither party wants to let go of. I mean, gosh, there are couples who will fight over the family dog and they will literally want to kill each other for the dog. How much more a house? So it does happen. And it is, some of these circumstances involve abuse, as you doubtlessly know. Absolutely. And also, there is also fear of leaving, but we're going to get there in a minute. Abdul, I know you're watching from Sierra Leone, so thank you for joining. Merlin says, yes, your sanity and peace is priceless. But is it though? We say it's priceless. Maybe your peace of mind is priceless. Maybe my peace of mind is priceless. But for somebody else, there is a price they are willing to pay for it with their mental health and with their, with their peace of mind, with their emotion. They're willing to pay that price. And what I'm saying is that price worth paying? Okay, so as I was saying, is the other party willing to play ball? And the honest question that you need to ask yourself is, do you want this marriage? If you know that you really don't want to be in this marriage, ask yourself why you're staying and put that against the possibilities that are out there. Because as you remain in this marriage, what you do is you halt progress of nearly every element of your life. When you are in a loving and supportive relationship, let me tell you something. It really does become the wind beneath your wings. To have that one person that believes in you, trusts you, loves you, supports you, it is priceless. If you have never experienced it before, I have. And I'm telling you, it is priceless. When you choose, and I use the word literally and loosely, when you choose to remain in that loveless marriage, what you're effectively saying to your present and your future is, this is all I'm worth. I cannot see beyond the four walls of this house and this woman or man that I'm married to, the society in which we live, and this is my lot. Now, depending on when such a thing happens to you, I'm 50 years of age. I can assure you, I would not stay in any loveless marriage. I wouldn't do it. Because unless I'm planning on killing myself tomorrow, I am believing that I will live by the grace of God for another 50 years. Yeah? Speak those things that be not. Yeah? For another 50 years. Even if I were to live for another 20 years, 20 years is how difficult is it to live in misery, lovelessness, stress, in a toxic environment, an antagonizing environment for 20 years. The latter part of your life, not the former. Because as we get older, the one thing that you see, people say prepare for your pension. That is good, that's your financial side. But what investment are we making to prepare for our old age emotionally and mentally? How are we preparing our life for, the rest of our days? I'm probably more intentional about, relationship now than I was at 25. Why? Because at 50, I am not prepared to be miserable. You've got to, want to be with somebody that is going to be a blessing to you. Because as you get older, your health suffers and your strength deteriorates. What makes those natural things that our bodies go through accelerate is stress. Is stress. And when you are living under the same roof as somebody that does not love you, you don't love them, you are not speaking, there is hostility, there is malice, there is anger, there is abuse, emotionally, mentally, verbally, sometimes even physically, how are you going to manage? How are you going to manage your life? Because there's a difference between managing your life and your life managing you. So when we choose to remain in these loveless marriages, there is a direct correlation between that decision and even our health. Medically proven. When I talk about these topics and what have you, I will go and find out, how does this affect somebody mentally and emotionally? I may know that from experience and from the area that I have studied in regards to issues to do with marriage and relationships. But I will go off and I will go and read a psychology journal, and I will go and do my research, and I will condense the information and I'll give it to you. So that is what I do. And from the information that I have, and from speaking to some of my clients, the amount of stress and effect on their mental and emotional health is immense. And as you're getting older, over 40, 50, 60, you can't afford that. You can't afford that. Because we become more susceptible to illness, as I said, as we are getting older. When you add the stress element, stress is a foundation for every kind of sickness you can think of. It's also been linked to heart disease as well. So don't think for a moment that if you're living in the property with your ex-husband or your estranged husband or estranged wife, that you can manage it. Because the fact that you are having to be focused on maintaining that stance is mental pressure in itself. Don't deceive yourself that it's mental pressure in itself. Let's be honest. You're out, you're having a good time, and then you remember that you've got to return to this house, where even to greet and say, hello, how are you, is not done. You don't speak. That is not a home, that's just a house. That is not living, that's an existence, and a very unhealthy one. So let me read some of your comments. Yalia, thank you for joining. Where are you watching from? So we're just asking people today where they're watching from this evening. Amadoreen says, some husbands are sleeping on their sofa and the wife in the bedroom. Some choose to remain for religious reasons and save face. You're not saving face, you're dying. You're dying a slow and very painful death. Because like I said, what you've told yourself is your whole existence basically is the four walls, these people that you're trying to impress. And isn't it funny how we try to impress people with our so-called status? The people that we're trying to impress are going through even worse than we are. But we're on there trying to look all cute, like, oh, I'm married, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. And you are living a living hell. Why do we do this to ourselves? It's absolute nonsense. Because at the end of the day, once somebody sees you at that party and you're, looking like the epitome of, togetherness and love and what have you, when they go home, they don't think about your life. And even if you got divorced, listen, why am I talking so much? Princess Diana and Prince Charles, did they not divorce? Did they not get a divorce? As sensational and as unheard of as it was back then, do we still talk about it today? Isn't he married to the woman that he had been having an affair with before he even married his wife? Haven't we moved on? Hasn't the Queen even said that she's looking at Camilla Parker Bowles as being, the next whatever of this country with Prince Charles? Really? You listen, sometimes, you know what it is? It's pride. You see, there's a phrase in the Bible that I love. It says, let no man think of himself more highly than he ought. Now, one would assume that that's just somebody that just wants to be arrogant. But it's also people that feel that you are so important that when people start talking about you, they will never finish. That's just your pride. And what did they say about pride? It goes before a fall. And you're falling every day. You put your key in that lock to enter that house that you know that there is absolute misery there. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? And are you worth doing something about it? Are you worth the right to be happy? Because let me tell you something. For those of us who stay in loveless marriages based on religion, let me break something down to you. This nonsense that we have, like this mantra, God hates divorce. God hates a lot of things. When you claim to be a Christian and you choose to remain in a marriage, choice, you choose to remain in a marriage that you don't want to be in, your spouse doesn't want to be in, you are living separate lives, some of you even with partners outside, do not still keep quoting God hates divorce. He also hates fakeness and lies. And for as long as you behave in this way, and I'm speaking to the religious people here, and I will use the same Bible that you're standing on to justify this stance, or people that force that stance on people, because there's times where people want to divorce, but in the church they are not allowing them because God hates divorce, as if God hates a lot of things, if that's what we're going by. But the Bible still says that don't put any other God before me. Some of you, your marriages have become a God. You have put every fiber of your being into pretending that you are in a marriage and you're not. And you know what's happening? You are unable to fulfill your destiny because you have tied yourself to something that is dead. And when you tie yourself to something that is dead, you invariably die, because if not, you'd be able to give it life. But it's not living, which means that thing that you have attached yourself to that is dead is killing you. The one thing you can never do is walk into your destiny and fulfill your calling when you are in a bad marriage. I repeat, you can never fulfill your destiny and walk in your calling when you are in a bad marriage. I am not talking about marriages that have just hit a problem. I am talking about those marriages where both of you are absent. You have abdicated your presence and your vows spiritually and emotionally and mentally, and you're just lying. What you're doing is you are lying. God hates divorce, but he also hates lies. You are lying to yourselves and to the world that you are married. You are not married. You are not married. It is a lie. And my question is, how long do you want to lie to yourself for? Because what you should be doing is being honest with yourself, your spouse, and the whole world, and to God that you claim to worship, and say, I cannot do this. Because if being divorced is a sin, there is no sin that God does not forgive. So let us, and I'm just speaking to people who are religious, because I also have to address that side, because I know there are many people in the church who are living together under those circumstances based purely on one phrase, God hates divorce. You think God doesn't hate you living a lie? Or the fact that he can't even have you walk in your destiny because you're tied to something that you shouldn't be tied to? Let's be honest here. Some of us got married to men and women we knew that we should not get married to. We knew they were not the right one. But for whatever reason, whether it was pressure, foolishness, or just the fact that we couldn't keep our pants and underwear on long enough, we decided to just marry and throw caution to the wind. How then do you remain in that lie and feel that it's something that honors God or honors anybody? Because what you're doing is there is a whole world out there that is waiting for something only you can do. But because there is so much of your emotions and your spirit invested where it doesn't need to be, you're not effective. You're not effective. So it's important that we stop lying to ourselves. And as I said, go back to, why did I get married in the first place? And what has been my contribution to the demise of this marriage? Asking, is the other person interested in making this marriage work? Because if the other party is adamant that they don't want that marriage to work, you are wasting your time. You are wasting your time. If they are adamant that they have checked out of this marriage, they don't want it to work, and you're living under the same roof as this person, and the relationship is hostile, it's toxic, and it's abusive emotionally, especially, let me add another especially on there, where there are children involved, what you are doing, the God that you claim hates divorce, what you're also doing is showing these children that you are a liar and that you are not being true, because where the Bible says that husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church, and your inability to demonstrate that, you are lying to your children that what you are exhibiting is godly, and it's not. You're lying to your kids. So as much as God hates divorce, he also hates liars. You're lying to your children because your children are watching this so-called union and thinking, this is what marriage looks like. As the young lady said earlier, that her dad was always pissed off at the mum. So she just felt that marriage meant women irritate men. They're children, for God's sake. So the impression that they get from looking at mummy and daddy is that, oh, when a man and woman live together, this is what it looks like. And because of that, they grow up with these strongholds in their minds about not just marriage, about relationships as a whole. And they themselves carry on that legacy of toxicity. They carry on that legacy of unhealthy relationships. They carry on that legacy of relationships being a burden, something that is not supposed to bring you joy, something that should bring you misery. So when they enter into these relationships, experiencing misery, no joy, feeling that they're a nuisance, not able to really fully commit, allowing themselves to be victims of abuse because of what they have seen being demonstrated by their parents. And then afterwards you sit back and say, God hates divorce. Let's do away with the self-righteousness because it is killing us and it's affecting our children. And they are watching the relationships that we are in. And that is the template that they are going to use for what relationships are supposed to look like. So when you decide to stay in that loveless marriage, look at the manner in which you choose to do that. And I'm going to get onto that in a minute. 1 second. I'm really thirsty today. It must have been that pounded yam and effort that I had earlier on this evening. So let me tell you, I came from church. And whilst I was in church, we were very late. And I was thinking, man, what am I going to eat? Because I need to eat, I need to sleep for 2 hours before I come on this show. Otherwise, I will just be there yawning. And I had some serious pounded yam and effort in the fridge. Man, it was hot. It was very wonderful. So I think that's what has made me thirsty, because there was okporoko inside. And those of you that don't know what okporoko is, go and find out. Whoever can tell me who is a non-Nigerian or Ghanaian that can tell me what okporoko is, I'll give you something. Don't you dare put it in the comments. I want a non-Nigerian or Ghanaian to tell me what okporoko is. It's called okporoko, and you better pronounce it like that when you're asking any Nigerian what it is. I'll give you a bit of a hint. Go and find a Nigerian that's Igbo and ask them, what is okporoko? And they'll tell you. And go to Yoruba and go and ask them what's it for. All right, guys. I digress. I just wanted you to know I was so thirsty tonight. Okay, so Amadorine says some husbands are sleeping. Oh yeah, we read that one. Margarita says I prefer to go living underneath a bridge than be living with someone that doesn't give me peace of mind. Me too. Shireen says 50. Where I am 50. I was 50 last August 11th. So if you want to bless me this my 51st birthday, I take checks, postal orders, bank transfer, you name it. I take brand new cars, houses, whatever. Yemi says irreconcilable differences. Just that. Once you get to this place, you will know. If and when you do, don't rationalize it. By this point, counseling has clearly failed. You decide what you can tolerate or live with. I got divorced. That was my choice, and I'm eternally grateful I took it. Absolutely. Yemi, I couldn't agree with you more. It's true. What can you live with? You see, again, if you have never been in a loving relationship before, if you're somebody that has been in love and has been loved and been appreciated, it's a lot harder for you to remain in these kind of marriages. And I would say that the reason why some of us are able to just be in that horrible space is because of what we've witnessed and what we've learned. So for example, my parents have always been very, very lovey-dovey to each other. And I've always seen how my dad has treated my mum. For me, it will be very difficult for me to comfortably be with a man that can insult me or can swear at me if he's angry or just through general conversation, because I've never seen my dad do that. In over 60 something years of marriage, I've never seen my father ever insult my mother before. I have never seen it. I've never seen him like berate my mum. I've not seen that. So it's not something I am used to. If I had been in an environment where my dad was always cussing my mum, or for days on end, I see that even, just as bad, days on end, they don't talk, then I'm thinking that's normal. So when my husband or my boyfriend is giving me the silent treatment, I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's normal. Men just sometimes just ignore women. Just like the other lady was saying that, she felt that women just irritate men, and that became her normal. So the image that we give to our children and what we're teaching them is another thing that we must consider. Don't make that decision to remain in a loveless marriage without taking into consideration the children. Now, here's this. When you say that you're staying for the children, let me tell you this now. You are lying to yourself. I will clarify this, and I have it, a bit further down, but I'm going to speak about it now. The only time that phrase, "we are together for the children," holds water is when both of you are mature enough to sit down and define your staying together. If the two of you are not mature enough to sit down at a table and say, right, we don't want to be together anymore. I found somebody else, you found somebody else, or we just realized that we don't work well, being married. This is how it needs to look for our children. Because if you claim that you're staying together for your children and you are not behaving as two adults that like each other under that roof, what you're doing to your children is you are killing them. You are taking them through your trauma. Don't lie to yourself that the kids don't know. They know. Kids are not stupid. Kids, listen, children pretend a lot. And the problem with children is they also internalize a lot. The problem with children is they blame themselves a lot. So whilst you are having your issues with your husband or vice versa, those kids are looking on thinking it is their fault. They think it's something that they have done that has resulted in you not wanting to be together or you not loving each other. And children have this tendency to think when mummy and daddy don't love each other, it means mummy and daddy don't love me. So if you are in these kind of marriages and you choose to stay together for whatever reason, and you have children, especially if they're young, then to prove that truly it's about the children, both parties have to sit down and consider mediation. If you're not able to, to speak with each other, consider mediation and start to draw out the confines and the boundaries under which the two of you are going to operate underneath that roof. Because for as long as you try and manage it yourself by being angry and hostile, I'm not talking to this one, and the kids are there, please don't say it's because of the children. Please don't say it's because of the children, because you're just making them a casualty of your war. Nothing to do with the kids. Tasha says, true. Anita says, better to be single than to struggle in a toxic, destructive marriage. I completely agree. Chanel says, quite a few people I know are miserable and are remaining in these marriages. The baffling thing, each first told me over 10 years ago. See, I rest my case. Although personally my patience is wearing, I truly don't understand why they have wasted 10 years and almost intend to continue this pattern into their future. I listen, I never advise, but I really don't understand. These people are now touching 60, wasted their 50s. You see, this is what I'm saying. Listen, let me tell you something. Do not let anybody lie to you or deceive you that because you are married, it is now a noose around your neck, it's a death sentence. It is not. Don't let any pastor, I am a minister, okay? I am a minister of the gospel. I am referred to as Minister Dilys, okay? I am a minister. I know the word. I preach. I evangelize, yeah? I am telling you, do not allow any pastor, any preacher, anybody to tell you that if you divorced, it's such a sin that you should remain in a dangerous marriage, a marriage that is dangerous to your mental health, to your emotional health, to your physical health, to your spiritual health. The person is a liar. God is bigger than that. The universe does not stop because you got divorced. Sometimes your life will begin because you got divorced. Look, I said before, marriage is a contract. And if marriage is a contract and one party rescinds on their responsibility in fulfilling their part of that contract. The contract is what we call frustrated. There is no more a contract. The only time a contract can exist is if you perform you write down the conditions of a new contract that you both must agree to. So this nonsense that maybe you got married at 25 and you realize you made a mistake. I'm 50. Are you telling me that it somehow glorifies God? It somehow shows you're a great Christian by being in a loveless and miserable marriage for 25 years, raising children into adulthood that look back and think, gosh, my marriage was terrible. And that somehow makes you holy because God hates divorce. Stop this religious foolishness. Stop it. It is killing you. It's killing you. It is killing your children. It is not empowering our kids to be able to have good, healthy marriages moving forward. And yet you're sitting there worried as to why your 35-year-old daughter is not married. She's not married because of you. Because everything that she despises in marriage, you exhibited. What is she getting married for? You are a poor advert for marriage. It sounds harsh, but let me just give it to you straight. I told you we don't do political correctness here. And we don't do religion here either. The fact that I'm a minister does not mean I'm religious. I don't walk around, come on. For those of you that know me know that I keep it real. The kind of religion I practice empowers and equips people to deal with real life. I've said it and I will say it again, come and shoot me. If you are in a toxic marriage, a marriage that is killing your soul, a marriage that doesn't even allow you to be able to pray, get out. Get out. And allow yourself to live. Just as Chanel said, 10 years, these people discovered this revelation. Look, I know somebody that I met in my 20s. I am 50. And they still, the husband and wife are still at loggerheads till this day. They still don't talk. What, because of a house? Because of a house? Because of church? What people are going to say in church? Let me tell you something. So you get divorced. Do you really think after people hear you're divorced, people really care? Is your happiness and your peace of mind and your Christian walk not worth more than that? So I'm just speaking to the religious people in the house that have allowed, you know what? Sometimes we hide behind these religious things because we don't want to make a decision and we don't want to take responsibility. So we hide behind these things so that we don't have to take any action. Today, take some action and stop lying to yourself and being a poor advert for what a real Christian marriage should look like and what a real marriage should look like to our children. Stop lying. Let me read some comments here. Julia says, it's important to have a healthy marriage than to live in misery. It absolutely is. Haida Ansari, thank you for being on here. Where are you watching from? Marlene says, yes, I hear you. Definitely need to make sure happiness in your later years. Honestly. Regina, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. Matthew, how are you doing, darling? Matthew Hughes. Marlene says, stress is a killer. It is. Tasha says, when you're in a bad relationship, you're wasting your time, money and energy. And for what? Just so that people like me, who have got no bearing on your life, can look at it, oh yeah, Tasha and her husband look really happy. What does that do for you? Don't impress people. Just don't, because you're the one living your nightmare. Regina says she's watching from London. Thank you for watching. William says, when there's no peace at home, there's no peace in life. Oh my gosh, what a quote. When there is no peace at home, there is no peace in life. That is so true. Because when you, listen, okay, let me ask a question. Those of you who have been in love before, and I mean you've been in love with the person and the person has been in love with you and they've treated you like royalty, show me some hearts. Show me some hearts. What, nobody on this platform has ever been in love and no one's ever really loved you? Wow. Well, it's a good job I'm doing this program today then, isn't it? Really? Nobody on this platform has ever really been in love? Okay, talk to me. Talk to me. There's like 48 of you watching at the minute. Talk to me. 49. So those of you that have been in love, you know what love feels like. Okay. Guys, please keep sharing. I see the numbers are going up. Do share. So you know what being in love feels like. How can you have such an experience? And I mean relationships, end for all sorts of reasons. But how can you have such an experience and then settle for a loveless marriage that is affecting your health just for the sake of appearances? Wouldn't you want to go back to that place? And for those of you that have never experienced it, take it from me. Being loved by somebody and loving somebody genuinely is the most empowering, the most beautiful thing that you could ever imagine. You know, it makes life so much easier to do. When you have somebody that adores you and you adore that person, you've got a problem and you can go to them and you know that they care about you. I mean, I can't describe it. It's the most amazing feeling. And yes, it may have eluded some of us. Some of us may not have ever been married, but I am telling you, you're not dead yet. You know, it's something, and sometimes there's reasons as to why we haven't experienced those things. Maybe trauma from our own past. And therefore, we are not open emotionally and spiritually to receive that kind of love. That's why we haven't experienced it. It's not that it's not there. And that's why people like myself exist. I coach people, you know, areas of trauma, you know, relationship, all sorts of different areas, so that when you haven't experienced that, I am the chick that will tell you why. And once you have resolved those issues, you become attractive to people. Because let me tell you something, trauma smells. Trauma has a stench to it. So when you've been through certain types of trauma, it acts as a repellent. Because the moment you open your mouth and even your body language, it shows that this person is not ready. Doesn't mean you're not a good person. Doesn't mean you're not a lovable person. But it means you're not ready for that level of intimacy. Because you don't even have that level of intimacy with yourself. When you have that level of intimacy with yourself, it means you are able to go deep within and have those areas where you have been hit healed. Now, if you haven't been able to have that level of intimacy with yourself, you aren't open and you're not ready, and it's not possible for you to have that intimacy with someone else. So as I said, trauma has a stench to it. And until you're ready to, you know, smell different, it's virtually impossible for you to be able to enter into that relationship that you want. It's not that it doesn't exist. It means that you have work to do. And for those people that don't do this work and enter into marriages with that level of trauma or bad experiences that they've not healed from, or the wrong impression of marriage because of what their parents and stuff have been through, you enter into something that would never have worked. It would never have worked because you didn't have the right ingredients to make it work. Or even if you had the right ingredients, it hadn't finished cooking. It's like me cooking a pot of soup and I've cut my ingredients and I've put them in the pot. And maybe it takes 2 hours for that soup to cook. And you go and taste it after 25 minutes and say, Dilys can't cook. Her food's bad and she made my belly run. No, you're too fast. You're too fast. You didn't take your time for it to cook through. A lot of us haven't cooked through and we enter into marriage. A lot of us just have the raw ingredients, but we haven't allowed it to simmer. We haven't put the right seasoning in there. We haven't gone to check whether it's cooking okay. We've not done that. And so for that reason, we serve ourselves as an uncooked meal and expect it to be palatable. It's not palatable. It tastes bad. It tastes bad. And I'm just using this analogy just to bring the point home that we've entered into these relationships not being ready. And therefore, when it turns toxic, either one or both parties, and we are now under one roof trying to make the marriage work, it's never going to work. Guys, can you please share this broadcast? I would really appreciate it. Okay, I'm absolutely nowhere, to be honest. There's so much to talk about. But I did decide that I was going to be speaking about marriage in 3 parts. So what we don't finish today, we will continue, because I think there are other elements, and I really feel it impressed in my spirit, to speak about marriage from different dimensions. So what we will speak about next week, I'm not quite sure yet, but I will let you know during the week, as I always do. So, you know, as I was saying on here, and I think I've kind of gone ahead of myself and what have you, but I've spoken about, you know, what's keeping you there? Is it finances? Is it children? Is it church? Is it family expectations? Is it status? Is it fear, you know, of the future? Because you know something, the one thing fear will always do is keep you in bondage. The one thing fear will always do is keep you in bondage. I'm not saying I don't understand fear, you know, fear of being alone, but you say fear of being alone, but you are alone. You are alone. What, just to have a physical body? Get a bloody lodger. If it's just to have a physical body in the house so that you're not alone, get a lodger. You know, now they do Airbnb. People can come and stay 3 nights and go. Do you understand? But you are alone. And what is it that you fear? And this is why I'm saying that we come into these marriages with our own trauma. Cultivate the relationships with other people, with friends. Being alone in what sense? How can you be in the house with somebody that you don't even speak to? They don't speak to you, you don't speak to them. And that level of hostility, it's not good. And you see, we need to look at, the one element is this issue of shame, especially for women. That you somehow feel ashamed that your marriage did not work. I spoke about pride and I said, look, sometimes pride is seen as, I'm just so wonderful. Don't you think I'm so this and I'm all that? No, that is an element of pride. Sometimes our insecurity is a form of pride. Because when you're sitting there thinking, oh, what are they going to think of me? Who are you? Like, who are you? Are you the first person whose marriage has failed? Who are you? What are they going to say? Let them say. And because of what somebody might say or may possibly be saying, that means that for the rest of your days, you remain stagnant and are not able to go out and live your best life. You're not able to take care of your mental and emotional health or manage your spiritual walk because of something somebody might say, because you feel ashamed. If you feel ashamed, that's you. That's how you have interpreted your situation and how little you think of your future. Of how little you think of it. If it's shame that is keeping you, it's how little you think of your future. I'll give you an example. I was in a relationship once. And I went through that for a very short space of time when I was a lot younger. And I thought, what are people going to say? It was such a big thing when I got together with this person, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. I was so miserable. One day I said to myself, hold on, Dilys. You're worried about what some of these people might say. I'm going to sneeze. It's gone. I hate that when that happens. I'm worried about these people. But right now, in this present moment, they can't see me. So if I am thinking about those people, they don't even know about my life, much less care about it. That thought set me free. I was done. I came out of that 60 relationship. I was done. I was like, I can't do it. I'm worrying about these people. And I said to myself, but I wonder what their lives look like. Bless me. I told you it was there. I don't think I've ever sneezed on this show before. Excuse me, I'm really sorry. I don't know why. That normally only happens to me when I smell spices. Maybe it must be me talking about ingredients. I must be very spicy. But anyway, sorry about that. Oh, I've got to get my tissue. Sorry, guys. My nose is itchy now. What was I saying? That just threw me. I was speaking about... My mind's gone blank. No, yeah. So I was speaking about... No, someone said speak about pounded yam. The pounded yam has gone. Thank you. Thank you for blessing me. So, when we are in that space of feeling we're ashamed and we cut it out. Because I went through that. And when I caught that revelation that, girlfriend, you are on your own. No one cares about your life. I was set free. I was set free. From that point, I never worried what people might think in those kind of situations. I don't care. Because what I cannot do is put your opinion over my emotional well-being. I can't. All you have is an opinion. So, and we're coming to an end now. One of the things that is essential is having a strong mental attitude. A strong mental attitude to be able to look in the face of all those that will oppose the decision for you to take care of yourself and say, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. There's been times where I've had to take some decisions that were highly unpopular. May not necessarily be in the area of relationship per se, but I'm just, going to give just an example because it wasn't a popular decision, but I had to put my foot down because it was part of what I needed for my emotional and mental well-being. So for example, when I was having my late husband's funeral, I hired security. Why? Because there's certain people that I didn't want there. And even my family were like, oh, you can't do that. It's embarrassing. I said, it's embarrassing for who? It's not your husband that died. And it's not you that is facing the issues that you're facing. So you need to back off. It was my choice. It was a big thing. Trust me. Oh, what are people going to say? I don't care. When is Dilys given a toss about what people are going to say? I don't care. I actually don't give a damn. For me, that is what I needed. I needed security there. Therefore, I had it. And the fact that people might think, oh, well, what's going on? I don't care. I wrote a book about the damn thing. So what? Because that's what I needed. To be able to sit through 7 hours worth of funeral whatevers. That's what I needed. To know that I was safe. That nobody was going to pop up at that funeral that I didn't want to see. So I made that decision to do what I needed to do. That's what standing in, your authority as an adult, that's what it means. It means there comes a point where it is no longer a democracy. You have to stand up and say, right, this is what's happening and we're running with it. Like it or not, we are running with it. That is what being an adult is all about. Making decisions that you have to stand by. And saying that, look, at this point, I refuse to explain myself to anybody. This is what I'm doing. Provided you can take the responsibility for those decisions that you make, it's sweet. It's all good. But what you shouldn't do is sit there and be a spectator of your own life. Don't do it, because you know what? Life is too short. I'm talking about a man I buried. My late husband didn't die an old man. I didn't marry an 85-year-old man. He's dead and gone. That's what life looks like. That is, my dear, that is what life looks like. Many of you in these marriages don't understand that you will really know how pitiful your situation is when one of you dies. When that wife has sat in that loveless marriage for so long and the husband dies, and then you have the family on your neck, then you'll wish that you ran when you had the chance. Trust me. So if you're gonna stay in that marriage, then you have to have a very strong mental attitude in being honest while you're there and saying, I'm there because of this, therefore I will swallow what I need to swallow. But then you will conduct yourself in a way that if there are children involved, that they don't witness the hostility. Let me read some comments real quick because we are over time. Ooh. Tasha says, if you don't enjoy spending time with your partner, at least 85% of the time, you won't always want to be around him or her. After all, then you shouldn't be in a relationship with him or her. Absolutely. And I agree with that. Even dating, I will only date people that I actually like as people. And I think I did a show on that where I think the show was called Partners with Benefits. How it's, how you can enter into these love relationships through the friendship route. And if you haven't done that, how you are able to cultivate the friendship within a marital or partnership relationship so that you have more substance to it. It's really important, Marlene Frank says, it is like dying from weathering, like the racism a lot suffer from. True. Title, Love's Misery, exactly. Pride Before the Fall, absolutely. Decay, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. Evelyn says, loveless marriages can be emotionally devastating. They are. Julie says, the fear of what people or church folks will say syndrome. Yeah, you know this girl don't suffer from that. Nane Kusi, thank you for joining. Gracious says, spot on. Marnie says, yes, on point. Tash is clapping. Princess, how are you doing? Always lovely to see you on here. Princess says, I guess that's the key. Marriage that you don't want to be in and that your spouse does not want to be in. Now, that's the deciding factor right there. You'd think, and yet they still decide that they're going to stay together and kill each other. That's why I called it Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad Pitt, who I nicknamed him Armpit after he left Jennifer Aniston. After that, he became Armpit to me. And then, what's her name again? Oh gosh, her name's gonna, her name's gonna, in fact, she stole him, so I don't even want to mention her name. But yes, those two, they acted in a film, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that was interesting, and that's where I got the title for this show from. Kanisha Grant, thank you for joining. Guys, if you've joined and you haven't put where you're watching from, do put it here so that we can acknowledge where you're from, because I'm really interested to see, the different countries that watch this show as well. And it'd be nice of you guys to see that you've got company from different places. Gracious Bonita says, be truthful to yourself. Yep. Mariam Abba, thank you for watching as well. Tasha says, having a person in your life doesn't mean you have real love. Sorry. When you lie to yourself and pretend your relationship is something that it isn't, you're hurting yourself. That lie is embarrassing and shaming. That's true. It can make you feel weak and pathetic when you don't even believe the story you're telling. Your truth, even the painful one, that this relationship isn't right for you, free you of that. Beautifully put, and I couldn't agree with you more. Mayan, thank you for joining. Princess True, 100% lie. Uju, thank you for being on here. Julia Roberts says, it's better to be single and know what you want than be in a relationship and not get what you deserve. Let me tell you something. In life, before we can receive something good that will bless us, we very often have to let something go. We have to position ourselves to be able to receive. When you have somebody who is observing this woman, she looks like she's a married woman, or this man is a married man, that person respects themselves. They're not coming to inquire about the status of your marriage. And maybe there are many people that would have stepped up and been the best thing for you. But for the fact that you are still tied, it acts as a repellent, spiritually and physically, for that thing to come your way. You always have to let something go when it's not right for you, for something better to come along, or for the right thing to come into your hand for you to receive it. So freeing yourself. And that's why I said that don't allow any religious leader to lie to you. Yeah, my friend, if it's religious leader, myself, I'd be religious leader. Don't allow any pastor to lie to you. Oh, God hates divorce, and if you divorce, God will be unhappy. For how long? You really think that God sees you come home every day and you're crying in your room, or you're so depressed to the point where stress because of the hostility in the home, you're even cooking separately. This one will pay that bill, that will pay the other bill. One person's broke, the other has money. You can't go to each other for support. And somehow God is like, oh, I love my children. They're so obedient. They're still married. They're half dead, but wonderful. I'm just such this is what I mean by being a merciful God. I'm looking at my children and look at how they're suffering. And isn't that great? Their children are witnessing all this rubbish. And now for the next generation, because the sins of the father are visited on the second and third generation, third and fourth generation, these kids, they're looking at their mother. Oh, look at the dad. Look how he looked at, he gave such a nasty, and this is what God is doing in heaven. Really? This somehow is how God is going to be looking at that marriage because on Sunday you arrive in the same car? Really? Do you really think God is that petty? Then you do not understand what you are worshipping, and you most certainly do not understand what religion you're following. I don't know what Bible you're reading. Even King David, that had somebody's husband murdered, he was able to marry that woman and God blessed that marriage. Talk to me, religious people. So you're trying to tell me that just by virtue of the fact that you are divorcing a man or a woman who is keeping you in emotional bondage, who is a poor and bad advert for Christian marriage, because some pastor has told you God hates divorce, you really think that that's where it stops? My friend, you people be serious, huh? They say, go and tell God I said. I will take the responsibility. If I'm wrong, let God punish me. I offer myself if I'm wrong. I'm not saying at the first sign of marriage, hear me. I'm not saying at the first sign of marriage, first sign of trouble, go and get a divorce. If you have sat there for 10, 15 years and both of you hate each other, you've prayed about what have you, come on. The one thing you can never get back is time, The one thing you can never get back is time. The one thing you can never get back is time. When I speak about this friend of mine that has been in a bad marriage since, we're in 2022, right? I was still living in my old flat. And I left there in 1999. We're in 2022. You do the math. And you are trying to tell me that that situation is more pleasing to God than if this man and this woman had left and could have been married to other people and been happy. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. This is rubbish. Please read your Bibles and get to know God. You see, this is why people who are not Christians look at us and think that we are crazy and we're mad and we're not. Because certain people, for their own selfish reasons, want to keep people in bondage. That pastor telling you that let him stay in his marriage if it's that miserable, you don't do it. Because that your bad marriage has become a god, it's become an idol. That's what you're worshipping. Sustaining an image that is false. That's lies. You need to let it go. Okay, Masakone, thank you for joining. And I am going to be wrapping up real soon. Gloria Adwa says, I was asked by a man of God to marry a man I didn't even love. He told me the love will grow after you marry. Let me tell you something. You see this girl right here? If I had said yes to every man that claimed God said I was their wife, I'll be called church Ashawu. So now you have 2 words to go and find out. Opuroko and Ashawu. Do you know how many men claim that God said that I'm their wife? That's why I said, know God for yourself. Read your own Bible and listen. Let me tell you something. There was one guy, and I'll tell this really quick because I'm over time now. There was one guy that liked me in church. This is years ago. I was in my 20s then. Was I in my 20s? No, I was probably about 30, 31. He was not my type at all. There was nothing about the guy that I liked, like as in zilch. And I was leading children's praise and worship at the time. And he was kind of like stalking me. He kind of, I wasn't like I am now where I'm like, now I'm horrible. But back then I was a little bit nicer. So when he put me on the spot and asked me for my phone number, I gave it to him. This guy kept on ringing me. And there was another guy in church that liked me. He was quite nice. He was very gentlemanly. He wasn't my type. So it was never really going to happen, but he was a nice guy. I was trying to make him my type, but he wasn't. Anywho, so this other guy, it happened to be Valentine's Day. After harassing me and all that business for weeks on end, he finally corners me at church. So I'm standing leading children's praise and worship, and he comes and he's outside. And there's one thing I hate. I don't like to feel harassed, and I don't like people to stalk me. You will get on my nerves. So this guy's standing there, pacing up and down, pacing up and down, pacing up and down. So I come outside. I'm surprised I never said this story before. And if you're watching, tough. So I come outside and he says to me that the Lord very arrogant. The Lord told me that you are my wife. And I was faced, I said, well, the Lord hasn't told me anything. Well, he said that you are my wife. And I said, well, listen, the Lord can't tell you about the remaining 2/3 of my life without telling me first. So I can't really help you. This is what the guy did. Hold on a second. Because I have to demonstrate for effect. So what even annoyed me was he had this book in his hand. And the book was entitled One Flesh. I was so vexed just at seeing that. One Flesh. That book was for married couples. Because One Flesh talks about sex in marriage and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, how the hell do you come and he bought the book for me? So this guy stood up and he goes, this is what he did. No lie. Do you think I just told you that you're my wife? I'm looking at this man. Do you think I just got up and told you that that I think you're my wife? I felt a stirring in my heart. This is how he's talking to me, Do you know what I told him? It's probably indigestion. You need to take some Rene. It's probably indigestion. I said, I'm sorry, but God has not told me anything. If I say I'm going to start telling you stories of what men used to say about me in church, about God telling them that I'm their wife, we will not finish. This will be part 10. Don't allow anybody to make you enter into a marriage that you don't want. I remember another time, I was in my 20s then. Look, the stories are too many. I'll save that for another time. We're getting late. Let me wrap up. Right, so, very quickly. One other element of all this conversation that is really important that we need to pay attention to are the legal implications of being separated and living under one roof. It is important, especially people from my community that don't like to talk about death. It is important that you write up a will, that in the event of your death, that your intentions are known. Unless it's something like the house that both your names are on there, that is different. But if the house is in, I know there are different rules when you're married and somebody dies interstate, but it's important that you make your intentions very, very, very clear. So this thing about living together under one roof and hating each other, it's not as cute as you might think it is. There are certain things that you need to look at. And if you are very serious that you want to remain under one roof for whatever reason, then get a legal separation document drawn up. It is important, okay? So these are the serious things that you need to be thinking about if you are going to, stay in that marriage, if you can call it that, yeah? So your will should reflect your status. If you die interstate, your wife will inherit everything, your husband will inherit everything. So if you know that you hate your wife or your husband that much, can you please draw up a will and at least be kind enough to them? I mean, you should be drawing up a will anyway. Everybody listen, the moment you acquire any form of property, be it a car, you have money in the bank, you've got designer shoes and bags, you have a house, draw up a will. A will is not just for people who are 90 and are about to die. A will is for anybody that has anything valuable that if they die, they don't want the state to collect it. People, married people, please make sure you have a will. If you are living in a property with a husband or wife and you are estranged, but you're living under the same roof, make your intentions known. Certain areas of your living arrangements need to be kept separate if you do decide to go down the legal separation route, because they're going to ask for that. But normally that is the prerequisite for being divorced, because you've got to be separated for a certain period of time. I didn't really want to go down that route because I felt that it was quite different from people who have chosen, for whatever, I use the term loosely, to remain married and are living under the same roof. Okay. One of the things I think is important when you decide to have these kind of marriages, and let's be frank, it doesn't mean that you're going to both remain celibate. Yeah? Date discreetly. Date discreetly. If you have to date discreetly. Yes? People still, listen, emotions are very funny things. There are times where I know of a woman, she's not slept with her husband for I don't know how long. They are estranged, they live under the same roof. She found out that the husband was, seeing another woman, and she went mad. And I'm thinking, why? You don't want the man. He doesn't want you, but you're living together for whatever reasons. If you're going to date discreetly. Because if you feel that the environment is toxic, well, guess what? It's going to get even worse. Guys, if you haven't shared this broadcast, please do, because I don't think a lot of you have shared today, and my feelings are getting hurt. But no, on a serious note, we're doing these kind of programs and having these conversations to help restore people's homes. So that if the home that you're in, that you vow to be in till death us do part, is not working, at least don't expedite that death us do part. Because by remaining in that property with your estranged wife or husband, that is what is happening. And you're killing your children as well as your dreams, as I mentioned before. Now, conflict in a relationship can lead to damaging responses in the body, such as inflammation, changes in appetite, and increased release of stress hormones. Do not think that you are impressing anybody by remaining in that relationship. Your health is being seriously affected. I'm going to read something to you. As I was saying, it says that all of which can affect numerous aspects of health, range from heart function to the immune system. I think I mentioned that before. Now, I got this information from DuPage family law attorney. He says there is a general consensus that people who are married live happier and healthier lives than those who divorce or never marry. People who are opposed to divorce will use this concept as a reason why struggling spouses should stay married and try to mend their relationships. However, a recent study concluded that a high conflict marriage can also be detrimental to the spouse's health. Researchers followed 373 couples during the first 16 years of their marriage, keeping track of the level of conflict in their marriages and their general health. Husbands in particular had a further decline in health based on the frequency of the conflicts. There are several ways that the stress of a bad marriage can have a negative effect on your health. Depression and anxiety. Yes? Is one major thing as well. So I put that here. Depression and anxiety. Being unhappy in your marriage will wear you down and can affect your mental health. Interacting with your spouse may make you feel anxious and depressed, which may in turn lead to poor decisions. It's true. When you're not happy and you're in a bad marriage, your defenses and everything is down. It weakens you. You don't sleep well. You don't eat well. And your immune system becomes compromised. Making decisions also become compromised. Anxious thoughts may disrupt your sleeping, there you go, may disrupt your sleeping patterns because you're unable to calm down at night. Heart disease, constant stress, such as, constant stress, such as from a bad marriage can be connected to an increase in your blood pressure and cholesterol. Stress causes your body to release hormones that temporarily raise your blood pressure. However, the long-term effects may come from changes in your dietary and exercise habits. You may react to your stress by overeating and excessive smoking or drinking. The stress and depression may make you more lethargic. These factors can increase the risk of obesity and heart disease. The next one, weakened defenses. The frequent output of stress hormones in your body will eventually have an effect. Stress can increase your risk of diabetes. It's a number one killer of or something that the black people suffer from a lot, and I think Asians as well. It's really something that we contend with a lot. Stress can increase your risk of diabetes because it increases your blood sugar, which may cause your body to become insulin resistant. It can weaken your immune system because your body is not able to produce as many germ-fighting cells. Finally, a study showed that people in unhappy marriages healed at a slower rate than those in happy marriages. Are you hearing? This God that you claim hates divorce. So you're trying to tell me that God is like, oh God, just die in that marriage. No. Are you hearing? Is it worth it? It is doable, but only if you can agree your reasons for the state of the marriage and why it would be better to remain instead of parting ways. If you can agree why you should remain together, then it means you need to be mature about it. It means you need to be honest with your children. It means you need to sit down and have a mature conversation with your spouse. And in that respect, draw out an agreement, so to speak. There must be mutual respect. The only way this can work is when you have two mature people that have decided that they're going to do this in the long haul. Guys, I have to go. It's 9:24. So I've gone over a little bit. Thank you very much for being here. Next week, we're going to have, it will be on marriage. It will be another element of marriage. There are so many comments here, guys. I cannot read it all. However, there is a Speak with Dilys group. If you go into groups on Facebook and just put in Speak with Dilys, we are there. I have encouraged you. I don't know why you guys are so shy and so quiet at the moment, but do go in there and post and speak about today's show. Go in do me a favor, go in that group and tell me what you think about today's show. Whether it helped you, whether you know a couple that you can just diplomatically say, oh, I know this lady, she's a little bit crazy, but she does talk sense once in a while, and you might find this interesting. This was the last show that she did, and share it with them. It may get them thinking. Sometimes, like I said, people need the confidence and the information to make a decision, to take action. Let's help people along the way without judging them and allowing them to look, sometimes you have to give a little bit of tough love. I've given some tough love tonight. I think it's necessary. I have given a little bit of tough love because sometimes we need to break things down in that way, especially when things have become a stronghold in our minds and we've been told something over and over and over and over again, and we believe those lies and it's kept us in bondage. So yeah, I've been a little bit harsh tonight, but you know what? I kind of like, I'll whip you, but I'll rub it and I'll kiss it better. So guys, have a wonderful Sunday evening, what's left of it. Thank you for being here with me. Please do share. Don't forget, save the date, 22nd of April. Speak with Dilys is going live in central London. You guys will be the wonderful audience. We're going to have a VIP section. We're going to have some nice little bits and pieces in there. I'm not going to release all of it. You're going to have to come, to find out. I'm looking for sponsors for this event. If there's anything that you can contribute, somebody that can do the video or somebody that can do sound, or somebody wants to pay, I don't know, £100, £200, £250, £500, whatever, please contact me. I am really doing my best to bring these conversations into various communities so that we can help build our families and, restore some of the love that has been lost. So guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless you. Please do share. And if you're watching this on the replay, just type replay and go in the group and go and show some love. Guys, God bless you. Have a wonderful week and I shall see you next week, Sunday. Ciao, ciao.